Hello, welcome to another exclusive Good e-reader video. This is Nick.
And this is Marcus.
Today we have the brand new Samsung Galaxy Tab.
Okay guys, so this is the tablet that everyone's been raving about. It's, in our opinion, one of the true iPad competitors. It's a very slick looking device. It's running Google Android 2.2 Froyo as an operating system. It has a 1 gigahertz processor. It's very light. It weighs just under a pound. Internally, it has 512 megabytes of RAM. For resolution, you're looking at 1024 by 600. You see that resolution because it's basically a rectangle as opposed to a square. It has 7-inch screen. It's fully touchscreen. It has a 3 megapixel camera, and you can see this here on the back. This is your camera, and this is where your flash would be. Internal storage is 16 gigabytes, but you can further increase that via a micro SD, and you could upgrade it to 32 gigabytes total. This is where your SIM card would be. This is your volume, so you can turn the volume down or you can turn it up. This is your power, and when you press the power button, you can either put it in standby mode or just turn the device off. So you can see it's very slim. On the top here, this is where your headphone jack would be. On the side here, this is where the built-in microphone is. So when you talk, this is where it picks it up. If you look on the bottom of the device, it has stereo speakers, so speaker on each side. And you can see here, this is where you would plug in the proprietary Samsung adapter. So you would plug it into here. On the other end is USB, so you could plug it into your netbook, laptop, or desktop computer. So let's take a look at what the Samsung Galaxy Tab is all about. You can see right here, this is your home screen, and you can see we have a live wallpaper on the back. This is where you would see everything from your Wi-Fi, signal, battery life, and so on. The device does come with a number of applications. Samsung is one of the few companies that has put out a device that is just not reliant on the Google Android market to provide all the apps. In a follow-up video, we're actually going to dive into all the different applications that Samsung has put out. But suffice to say, some of the big applications that they've released with this is the Music Hub. They've put out the Media Hub, and they've also put out the Reader's Hub. Now, all of these programs allow you to buy music, to buy books, newspapers, and magazines, and so on. Now, it does come bundled with a lot of Google applications, so you can do everything from Gmail to Google search to voice search. You have access to the entire Android market. So unlike a lot of tablets that have come out recently, such as the Ogden GenTouch or the Arcos line of tablets that are low cost-effective tablets that only cost somewhere between $150 and maybe $300, but they don't have access to the Android market. Now, you can see here that there are a lot of applications for it. Video, you can do YouTube. All of these applications that you see in all of these menus here were actually installed when we bought the device, so we didn't actually install any of these. All of these applications actually came on it. It does have a web browser that is very robust, and you can see here that you can, visit a lot of different sites. The load speed on these is very solid. And we're just going to visit a site just to show you how this shows up. So you can see here, this is our own website. You can see how fast it actually loaded up. Of course, you can pinch and zoom. And we're just going to hit the home button. Now let's get into how great this device is. with the North American version of the Samsung Galaxy Tab, you actually do not have the ability to make voice calls. It is only with the European and UK version that you can actually use this via Bluetooth to make calls. But we found actually something pretty funny when we took a look at the settings menu. So we're going to hit the settings menu here. And you can see it's a very, if you've had an Android phone or have done Android tablets before, you have a lot of different options that you can do here. Everything from your privacy, locale, such. But we found something interesting when you do About Tablet. And you hit phone numbers and signal. You can actually see that despite the fact that this does not have the ability to make calls, it does have a phone number attached to it. Also has a lot of different information here. Why that phone number there is important is because people are making routing applications, so they're diving straight into the OS, and they have actually developed a way for North American Samsung Galaxy Tabs to actually be able to make voice calls via the device itself and Bluetooth. We don't recommend that you do this yet because it's still very early in that sort of technology, the routing aspect that allows North Americans to make calls. So we don't endorse that you do that yet, but we definitely encourage you to keep checking back at our blog at goodereader.com/blog, and we'll post all the relevant information about that, because we find the fact that you can make voice calls in the UK, but if you can't do it in North America has a tremendous user base. So we find that this price on the Samsung Galaxy Tab is about $700, $600 or so. It depends where you live and what type of data plans that you're going with. Of course, carriers are offering discounts, but the discounts are pretty paltry. You can pretty well buy the device straight up at most places for about $600. It goes about as low as $540, depending on if you're on Rogers or Bell in Canada, or if you're on AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, and other places in the USA. In Australia, of course, you could buy the device, but it's around $999. But carriers are subsidizing it, but it's not a large subsidy. You can see here that, in fact, it is running Google 2.2. So you can see everything like that there. Now, let's get into why we think the Galaxy Tab's great. It's a very robust device. Everything loads up very quickly. You can see here when we put up the web browser, it's pretty well instant. All of the applications that you load up very fast. What we've noticed with this device is that sometimes certain applications, despite the fact that we had it in landscape mode, you can see that it loaded up in portrait mode. And that's basically a lot of the Android applications haven't been customized to the Samsung Galaxy Tab, that despite the fact that you may be locked in your orientation mode in landscape mode, you'll load up certain applications, but they will only load up in portrait mode. So that's not anything fundamentally wrong with the device, but just so you guys know that when you will be downloading certain applications, for the most part, a lot of them do not have the Galaxy Tab in mind when you're doing it, mainly because the Galaxy Tab just came out. But we've noticed some applications like Facebook and Twitter will work in portrait mode. A lot of other applications don't, but in time we'll definitely see that. We like the fact that the Samsung Galaxy Tab is extremely portable. It is very easy to be able to fit this little dandy in your pocket. And despite the fact that it does cost a lot, it is pretty well, out of all the tablets that we've reviewed so far, it is the quickest loading, it is the most robust, and we find that if you're looking to buy a tablet for the holiday season, you can't really go wrong with the Samsung Galaxy Tab. You can do things such as video conferencing with the camera here. You can also take photos and video with the camera on the back here. So again, in future videos, we're going to dive into these semantics. So for Good e-Reader and the review of the Samsung Galaxy Tab, this is Marcus.
This is Nick.
Everybody take care.